Oh yeah, I was gonna say, is there any correlation that you're aware of between the plant and like the emerald tablets or anything along those lines?
Well, I don't actually know much about the emerald tablets. I do know about the books written by Toth, but he wasn't called Toth to me. He was called Tahoot. Um, but I don't really know anything about any emerald tablets.
Well, can you tell us about Tahoot then?
Right. Well, that's a big topic of conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one I'm interested in personally. So,
okay. Well, Tahoot, he came into our civilization at a time when my brother had just started developing the technologies. And basically, my brother was looking for a new place for our whole civilization to move to because we were suffering from this group of nearby primitive people who would randomly raid our where we lived, run through the place naked, screaming and yelling, and do unpleasant things if any of us was caught out in the open, steal whatever we had, and it was very unpleasant. And so he was busy looking for a new place for us to go to and develop our civilization more because he was getting this technology together. And one of the earliest technologies was the flying technology. So he was traveling around looking for somewhere, and he came across this place, and he could see a tall tower, and he could see a city. And he went and had a look from the nearby hills. But what he saw was very sad. He saw people basically carrying bodies to a big pit, and it looked like most of their people were dying. And he thought, well, he better not get too close in case it's some kind of disease or whatever. And so he was in the process of leaving, and he saw this man nearby to where he was also watching the civilization from a nearby hill. And this guy started waving to him and begging him to come over. And he decided it probably wasn't a safe thing to do. So he took off and was going to leave. But something made him return. He just felt such guilt and such sadness for this guy that he went and collected this man, and this was Tahoot, and Tahoot had actually returned to this place after having been away, and he'd been studying at some other location under someone called the Great Teacher, and he'd returned and he'd seen the same thing as that my brother Uran had seen, and he was also of the opinion that he shouldn't go anywhere near the place, so my brother took him back, but didn't go straight to our village. He took him to a cave and just hung out there together, kind of get to know him, see if he was a safe guy to introduce, and also to see if either of them basically died. Um, if they'd got whatever was going on in this very sad place. And they got on really well. They were both genius level, and Tehut became a very big part of the way that the civilization developed. And much later on, when it was deemed safe to return to that area, the two of them went back and they collected anything they could that might have been useful in terms of knowledge. And but that was how Tehut, who wasn't part of Tantal, became a fundamental part. He then went on to marry my grandmother, which is another story altogether. But yeah, so his knowledge was incredible, and the combination of him coming from this other civilization with some knowledge, and I have no idea what that civilization was, combine that with the knowledge of what Uran was coming up with naturally from just being a genius. Uran was the kind of like Tesla level thinker. And between the two of them, they just the technology and the civilization just mushroomed from there. But when my grandmother was accidentally drowned, killed in the Nile, Taho decided that he didn't want to continue living, and he was just going to write in books all his knowledge, and he wasn't going to take any of the longevity anymore, and he was just going to pass away, and he wanted to join her. And so I have these memories of him in underground passages, busy writing out all these books. Some of it was like a physical book, and some of it was somehow getting it into a crystal. But he was just so determined before he passed on to write down everything he knew. So that's Tahoot in a nutshell, really.
Well, that falls into place pretty well with, what's known of him. So that's pretty incredible.
So I don't know when he started getting called Toth or Hermes Trismegistus or any of that, but he was always just Tahoot.